Imagine this. You wake up one morning, the sun's peeking through your curtains, and you realize you've got the whole day ahead of you. No schedules, no obligations, just time to enjoy life the way you want. But then, a little voice creeps in. Maybe it's your kids or a friend, or even yourself, whispering, "What if I can't manage on my own anymore? What if a nursing home is the only option?" If you're over 65, you've probably heard that whisper at least once. And let me tell you something, it's a fear a lot of us share. I've talked to folks just like you who've said, "I don't want to lose my independence. I don't want someone else deciding when I eat, sleep, or sit in my favorite chair." Well, here's the good news. You don't have to. Living your golden years on your own terms isn't just a dream. It's absolutely possible. I remember chatting with my neighbor, Doris, a spry 72-year-old who still mows her own lawn. She told me, "The day someone tells me I have to move into a nursing home is the day I stop being me." Doris isn't alone in feeling that way. So many of us want to hold onto the freedom we've earned after decades of hard work, raising families, and building lives we're proud of. But here's the thing. Staying independent doesn't just happen by wishing for it. It takes a little planning, a bit of know-how, and a whole lot of determination. That's why I'm so excited to share this video with you today. We're going to talk about how to say no to nursing homes, not out of stubbornness, but because you've got a better plan. So what's this all about? This video is for anyone who's hit 65, or maybe sailed right past it and wants to keep living life their way. Maybe you're worried about keeping up with the house, or you've noticed your energy isn't quite what it used to be. Or maybe you just want to prove to yourself and maybe a few nosy relatives that you've still got this. Whatever brought you here, I'm glad you're with me. We're going to explore 5 practical, down-to-earth ways to thrive on your own terms. No fancy equipment, no complicated rules, just real ideas that fit into your life. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, at your age, you should slow down"? I'll bet it's more than you'd like. But slowing down doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean handing over the keys to your life. It's about finding new ways to keep going, to stay strong, and to enjoy every single day. I've seen it firsthand with folks like my Uncle Ray, who's 68 and still tinkers in his garage every afternoon. He told me once, "As long as I can turn a wrench, I'm not going anywhere I don't want to." That's the spirit we're tapping into here. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds great, but is it really doable for me? And that's a fair question. Everyone's situation is different. Maybe you've got a creaky knee that acts up in the rain, or a budget that's tighter than it used to be. Maybe you live alone and wonder who'd help if you needed it. I get it, those worries are real. But the beauty of what we're going to cover is that it's flexible. These ideas work whether you're in a big house or a cozy apartment, whether you're fit as a fiddle or taking it a little slower these days. They're about building a life that's not just safe but joyful too. Picture this for a moment. Instead of worrying about the what-ifs, you're waking up each day feeling confident, knowing you've got a plan to stay in charge. That's what we're aiming for. Over the next little while, we'll walk through 5 ways to make that happen. Things like staying active without overdoing it, making your home work for you, and building a circle of support that doesn't feel like a burden. These aren't pie-in-the-sky promises. They're steps people just like you are already taking to keep their independence and love every minute of it. Take my friend Margaret, for example. She's 67, lives alone, and used to worry about falling every time she climbed her stairs. But she figured out a way to make her house safer and started doing little exercises to keep her balance sharp. Now she's the one hosting card nights for her friends. That's the kind of life we're talking about. Practical changes that add up to something big. So, grab a cup of tea, get comfy, and let's dive into the first way to thrive on your own terms. It's simpler than you might think, and it's all about taking control of your day-to-day in a way that feels right for you. Let's start with something we all know matters: staying active. Now, I'm not talking about running marathons or lifting weights like some young gym buff. I mean moving your body in a way that keeps you strong and steady without wearing you out. Take my cousin Ed, for instance. He's 70, and a few years back, he noticed he was getting winded just walking to his mailbox. He didn't want to end up stuck in a chair all day, so he started small. Every morning, he'd walk around his backyard for 10 minutes, breathing in the fresh air and listening to the birds. It wasn't much, but over time he stretched it to 20 minutes, then 30. Now he's the guy strolling around the neighborhood, waving at everyone like he owns the place. The trick? He didn't push too hard, just enough to feel good. You can do that too. Maybe it's a walk to the corner, a little stretch while you watch TV, or even dancing to your favorite song from the 60s. The point is, keeping active keeps you in the driver's seat of your life. Next up, let's talk about your home. It's not just a place. It's your sanctuary, your castle. But as we get older, it can start feeling more like an obstacle course. Stairs get steeper, cabinets get higher, and that rug you love might trip you up. I remember visiting my friend Clara, who's 66 and swore she'd never leave her little bungalow. She was right. She didn't have to. Instead, she made some changes. She swapped out that wobbly old step stool for a sturdy one with a handle, moved her everyday dishes to a lower shelf, and added a few grab bars in the bathroom. Nothing fancy, just practical fixes. And you know what? She says it's like her house grew younger with her. You don't need a big budget for this either. A handyman can help, or even a handy grandkid. The goal is to make your space work for you so you're not fighting it every day. Now, here's something that ties everything together: eating well. I know, it sounds like the same old advice you've heard forever. But hear me out. This isn't about diets or counting calories. It's about fueling yourself to feel good. My pal George, who's 69, used to skip breakfast because he wasn't hungry. Then he'd crash by noon, too tired to do much. One day he started making himself a simple oatmeal bowl with some berries. Takes 5 minutes, tops. He told me, I didn't realize how much energy I was missing out on. It's not about gourmet cooking. It's about keeping it easy and nutritious. Maybe for you it's a smoothie with whatever fruit's on sale, or a hearty soup you can make once and eat all week. When you feel strong from the inside, it's easier to tackle everything else. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about staying connected. Living on your own terms doesn't mean going it alone. It means having people around who lift you up. I think of my Aunt Sue, who's 73 and widowed. She used to feel isolated, rattling around her house with no one to talk to. Then she started a little routine. Every Tuesday, she calls her old school friend for a catch-up, and on Fridays, she meets a neighbor for coffee. It's not a big production, but it keeps her in the loop. You don't need a packed social calendar. Sometimes it's just a phone call, a chat over the fence, or inviting someone over for tea. And if you're thinking, but I don't want to bother anyone, let me tell you, people love hearing from you. It's a two-way street that keeps you grounded and happy. Finally, let's touch on something practical but powerful: planning ahead. This isn't about doom and gloom. It's about peace of mind. Take my friend Bill, 68, who lives in a condo by himself. He sat down one afternoon and made a list. Who to call if he needed help, where his important papers were, even a backup plan for getting groceries if he couldn't drive. He told me, it's like I took the worry off my shoulders. You can do that too. Maybe it's asking a family member to check in once a week, or keeping a list of local services, like a handyman or a meal delivery option, tucked in a drawer. It's not about expecting the worst. It's about knowing you're ready for anything. That's what lets you relax and enjoy your days. Each of these steps, moving a little, tweaking your home, eating smart, staying connected, and planning ahead, builds on the others. They're like pieces of a puzzle that fit together to keep you thriving. I think of folks like Doris, who I mentioned earlier. She's still mowing that lawn because she walks every day, keeps her house simple, eats her veggies, chats with her buddies, and has a neighbor on speed dial if she needs a hand. It's not magic. It's just a life she's shaped to fit her. And that's what we're aiming for. A life that feels like yours every single day. So, as we wrap up these ideas, think about what might work for you. Maybe it's starting with a 5-minute walk tomorrow, or moving that coffee pot to a spot you can reach without stretching. Whatever it is, it's your call, and that's the beauty of it. Let's keep that energy going as we head into some final thoughts. So, here we are, talking about thriving after 65, and I hope you're feeling a little spark of excitement about what's possible. It's not about turning back the clock or pretending we're 30 again. It's about making the most of right now on your terms. I think of all the folks I've met who've done just that, like my friend Clara with her cozy bungalow, or Ed strolling around the neighborhood. They're not superheroes. They're just people who decided they weren't ready to hand over their independence. And you don't have to be either. It's all about those small, steady choices that add up to a big, beautiful difference. Let's picture it for a moment. You, waking up in your own home, knowing you've got the tools to handle whatever the day throws at you. Maybe you're sipping your coffee, feeling good because you took that little walk yesterday, or you're laughing on the phone with a friend who's just as glad to hear from you as you are to call. That's not a far-off fantasy. That's a life you can build, step by step. And the best part? You don't need anyone's permission to start. It's your show and you're the star. I'd love to hear what you think about all this. Have you already found a trick that keeps you going strong? Maybe a way you've made your home easier to manage, or a recipe that's become your go-to. Drop it in the comments below. I'm betting there's someone watching who'd love to hear your story. And while you're there, give this video a little like if it sparked some ideas for you. It helps us reach more folks who want to keep living their way, just like you. Oh, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you along for more chats like this. Before we part ways, let me leave you with this. You've spent years building a life you're proud of, raising kids, working hard, making memories. Now's the time to enjoy it, not to let it slip away. I think of my Uncle Ray, still tinkering in his garage at 68, grinning like a kid because he's doing what he loves. That's what I want for you, days filled with the things that make you, you. Whether it's a quiet morning with a good book, a chat with a neighbor, or just the satisfaction of knowing you've got this. It's all within reach. So take it one day at a time. Maybe tomorrow you try that short walk, or move something in your kitchen to make life a little smoother. Whatever you choose, know that it's enough because you're enough. Here's to thriving, not just surviving, and doing it your way. Wishing you a vibrant, joyful life at any age. See you in the next one.